Happy am I to be in the house of the Lord on this God's holy Shabbat day, and to be among you, God's chosen people. This is the day that the Lord has made. We will be glad and rejoice on it. First and foremost, because it is the holy Shabbat day. As we read in the Torah today, God said, I give you a choice. This is a blessing that God gave only to man. Animals don't have a choice. They have an instinct. And they act according to their instinct. But human beings have a choice. And God said, I give you life and death. I give you good and evil. And it's your choice to choose what you will do. And God said, behold, I have told you what is good, and what does the Lord require of thee? But to do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly before thy God. And this day of Shabbat is a blessing because it gives us time. And life is measured in time. How much time do you have? How much life is there? And we're here to celebrate the most precious gift of all, which is life itself. Because God giveth life. Yes, He does. And He gives us a certain amount of time to be on this earth. And to use that time wisely through our choices. And we give gratitude and thanks to the giver of life. All of our blessings. And so that also brings us to today. And so this time I'm going to ask the Beth Elohim choir to come forward because they have some songs that are appropriate for this day and this occasion. The Beth Elohim choir, always ready, always prepared. Of course, after the conclusion of the service, there's going to be opportunities at the reception later for people to have other congratulatory messages for the family and for the child and for gifts as well. So this time we're going to turn our attention for a few minutes to consider the message of today. And it's going to be a short sermon. But it is the message of the Torah today. It is a double portion. And it is a time that sets our mind in thinking. And so for a few minutes today I'm going to talk about standing for God. And standing in the presence of the Most High God. Let me begin as I so often do. First, Rishon. They call it Zaman Rishon, and always first. Ani noten kavod Shabbat lehalel le'el Elyon, to the Most High God. Elohei ha'Elohim, Lord of lords. Adonai ha'Adonim, God of gods. Melechei ha'Melechim, King of kings. The Creator of all things. The God of our ancient ancestors. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Joseph, Moses, Aaron, Solomon, and David, and all the prophets of Israel. All of our mothers, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, Deborah, Ruth, Naomi, Hadassah, and all the righteous men and women of the past to the present. Also, give honor to our chief rabbi, Kevin Shmuel Kanem, to our Rabbi, Rabbi Adriel, Kedan, and Rabbi Sholomo, did such a wonderful job leading the service today. To Israel as well, and most especially to the mother of our congregation, Rabbi Deborah Levy, who looks so beautiful today and every day and brought such a wonderful spirit. Bonnie from Israel, to all the brothers and sisters of Israel gathered here today, I greet you. Shalom Aleichem. Peace be unto you. Beautiful. Shabbat day. As it says in the book of Deuteronomy, in fact, as we just read recently, Hazinu Hashemayim V'Adabera, give ear, O heaven, and I will speak, and the earth will hear the words of my mouth. May my teaching fall like dew, like gentle rain upon the tender grass. For I will proclaim the name of the Lord, and ascribe greatness unto our God. That prayer by Moses is my anthem at most occasions where I speak, because I pray that the people will be like grass. That is, that they will be thirsty for knowledge. And that something that I say in my remarks may nourish them, may help them to grow stronger. But whether they pay attention or fall asleep, then as it says in the Torah today, heaven and earth will bear witness that I did come today. And I proclaim the name of the Lord. As we come to the conclusion of this book of Deuteronomy, we find Moses giving his farewell address, having led the children of Israel for 40 years in the wilderness, from Egypt to the boundaries of the land of Israel. And as he stood on the banks, not able to cross over into the promised land himself, he wants to remind the children of Israel what they should remember. It's like many parents at the end of the summer, and their children about to go away to college for the first time. And although they've raised them from birth to this moment, Julia, y'all have some time with it. But when she gets ready to go to college, you raised her, you taught her everything, but yet, before she goes away, you want to remind her that you're about to leave my presence, but remember everything I taught you growing up. And you might just summarize the important things. Okay? And so this is what Moses is saying. I've been teaching you for 40 years, but now I'm not going to be with you any longer. You're going to be going in on your own. But I want you to remember something. What it says here in the book of Deuteronomy, in the 29th chapter, and I'm starting at the 10th verse. This is what the Torah should be understanding. It says, the Atem Netzavim, you standing this day. And it uses this word Netzav as opposed to Amot. At the beginning of the service, often the Shabbos will say, Amot B'Bakasha, please stand. Everyone stand up as we begin. But here it says Netzavim, which is not just standing in a physical sense, but those, it means totally being present. Those of you who are standing this day before the Lord your God, the heads of the tribe, the elders, the officers, all the men of Israel. But then it doesn't stop there, as it so often would address, and I'm just talking to the leaders at this time. But he says, no, your little ones, your wives, and the strangers. I like here he uses the word ger in Hebrew, which either means stranger or convert. So even those strangers who came with us out of the land of Egypt, they said we were a mixed multitude. And I'm talking to them today as well. The strangers that are in the midst of your camp, from the hewers of wood to the drawers of water. And here it is referring to status. Because within a community, sometimes when you start out with the chiefs and the elders and the men, a few weeks ago Moses said, I chose to send the best and the brightest to spy out the land. But here God said, I'm talking to everyone. I'm talking to the children. I'm talking to the women. I'm talking to the strangers who just happen to be present, but they are here and they are part of this covenant. And I'm talking to those who are hewers of wood and drawers of water. This is a metaphor. For those who have the lowest status in society. The hewers of wood and the drawers of water. You don't know about that because you don't have to cut your wood anymore. You don't know about that, about the drawers of water, because you can just turn a knob and water comes out of the faucet. But in biblical days, people would have to go to the river, to the stream, to the well, and fetch the water. They have to go chop the wood. And that was the lowest job in society. Either hewer of wood, the drawer of water, the fetcher of things that needed to be fetched. And God said, I'm talking to them as well, not just the chiefs, but even the lowest people in society who have the least amount of status and prestige. I'm talking to all of you today, that thou mayest enter into the covenant. And the Hebrew word for covenant is Greek. Right? This covenant. This is why we read, if you have a male child, you shall circumcise the foreskin of that child. And the purpose of circumcision, as we read in the Torah today, Banasika, God says, this is a sign of the covenant that I made with you. This covenant that I made with your father Abraham. And it's carried down to you. All of you are part of the covenant that the Lord your God has made with you. And into his oath, which the Lord thy God maketh with thee this day, that he may establish thee unto himself for a people, that he may be unto thee a God, as he spoke unto thee, and as he sware unto your father Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. This establishes a legacy that we continue to this day. This defines us as to who we are. You know, when Joseph and his brothers came into the land of Egypt, and Pharaoh said, "Who are you?" He didn't say, "What is your name?" He said, "Who are you?" Right? Because defining who you are is more than just asking your name. I'm asking for your whole legacy, your ancestry. And they said what? We are the son of one man, that is Jacob. Right? And they made 12 tribes of Israel. This is who we are. Defining ourselves a rotten one among you in the apple. And it comes to pass when he hears the words of these curses, and that he blessed himself in his heart, saying, I shall have peace, though I walk in the stubbornness of my heart, to destroy the moist with the dry. And so what God is saying here to us is that my covenant is not just with those who are present, but with those who are not present. And the rabbis teach that this is prophecy to say, who is not present? Who is not present? You've included everyone from the youngest to the oldest, from rich to the poor, men and women. Who else could you be referring to as part of this covenant? The rabbis teach, I'm even talking to those who have not been born yet.
Amen. Right, don't know God.
Everybody here today, and to everyone, even into the future. Because our God is eternal. He transcends time itself. And he speaks through the word of God to all generations. And so we are limited to the time in which we live. The things that we experience, the things that we live through. You may be telling your children and grandchildren, I lived through COVID.
That's right.
I was alive in 2020. I remember what it was like. This is not something in the history books. But I lived through this as my lived experience. But God is saying here, I'm not just talking to you in your limited experience, but I'm talking through time to future generations, to people who haven't even been born yet. They too are part of this covenant. God was talking to you, even though you weren't born yet, even though you weren't standing there at Mount Sinai, even though you weren't born yet to live, to see the Torah be given. God said, I was talking to you, not just to your ancestors. See, because this is now has gone so far back, you might think, well, God spoke to those people. And by saying those people and not God spoke to my people, say God spoke to Moses. You didn't say God spoke to me. Right? This separation, God said, I don't want that. I want you to understand, I am talking to you. I am talking to you right now. I'm speaking to you through time. To speak to you right now that you are as much a part of this covenant as the people who actually stood there at the base of Mount Sinai, the base of Mount Nebo, who stood there at the banks of the Jordan River. This covenant is for you. And it's especially appropriate today as we celebrate the life of Suni that God was speaking to the future generation. He was speaking to those who were not yet born. And every time a child is born, male or female, we welcome that child into the covenant when they are born. When the child gets to be 12 or 13 years old, then they will experience a bar mitzvah or a bat mitzvah. Mitzvah means the commandments. So when you're born, your parents made you a part of this covenant by birthright. By birthright, this belongs to you. Because you were there, God was speaking to you through time. And now when you get to be an adult, 13, 14 years old, 12 years old, then the adult gets to choose you because God said, this is what I'm speaking to you. But I'm giving you a choice. This is a covenant. You can accept it or you can reject it. He says, I give you good and evil. I give you life and death. You have the choice. And when you become an adult, you can doctor, I'm going to raise a child. But when that child gets to a certain age, they get to make their own choices. Hopefully they listen to what their parents taught them. But if they don't, they still get to make their own choices. And so this is why at the age of 12, 13, again, you give that child a chance to choose. And if they have bar mitzvah and bat mitzvah for a female, then they choose as an adult to embrace the covenant. And this continues throughout life. And so this is an important lesson for us today to remember who we are, to remember whose we are, to understand that each day I make a choice to choose good. Everyone had a choice. You know, we look at often the bad choices that people made. And we see the videotape. And we know nothing made them do that. You had a choice at that moment to do this or not do that. When they came to the Torah today, they come and say, but Cong, who has chosen us, from all the people of the earth. So we have a choice and God had a choice. And God chose. He said, these are my chosen people. I chose them. Let us choose God. Let us choose life. Let us choose what is good. But God has told you now what is good. And what does the Lord require of you? But to do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly before thy God. Let me conclude, as I so often do in the book of Ecclesiastes. For at the end of that book, in the last chapter of the book of Ecclesiastes, in the last verse, it is written, let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. For God will bring every work together, concerning every single thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
And shalom aleichem.